Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the transition table. This is our second season, and we're changing it up a little bit. I will be bringing different people on every week to talk about different aspects of exit planning and things that you can do to prepare your business. So today, I have my business partner and life partner, Art Warsoff, here to talk a little bit about why he thinks Exit Factor is a great resource for business owners.
Well, thank you, Dion. So I'm actually wearing two hats. I am wearing my Exit Factor shirt today, but as Dion has mentioned, we also own the Transworld Business Brokerage office. So we got introduced to Exit Factor, and I'll tell this story from the business broker side. We had been working with many businesses. We reach out to businesses and we ask them if they're interested in selling. And a very common response was, check back with me in a couple of years when my business is ready to sell. I need to improve the profitability. I need other things I have to fix. I'm not ready to sell yet. And we really didn't have a good answer other than, I'll check back with you in a few months. Then we got introduced to the Exit Factor program, and it really does fill a gap that makes sense as we work with these businesses. Unlike other business consulting, we're not out there trying to solve world hunger, sitting down with business owners 8 hours a day, multiple days a week. Most small business owners don't have that time. What we really like about the Exit Factor program, that we're really looking for business owners able to focus 1 or 2 hours a week on the most critical things that make a big difference for their business. And we're going to try to make sure those things help and end with a much improved business. And as a business broker, when I wear that hat, I get really excited when I have an Exit Factor graduate who the books and records are clean, the business is profitable, easy to understand, the owner is involved a reasonable amount of time in the business, and we have a much more valuable, easier to sell business at the end of the day.
Those are all great things, but let's talk a little bit about what makes Exit Factor different, because obviously exit planning is hot and a lot of people are talking about doing exit planning. But what do you think, aside from the time benefit, what do you think is the big advantage of working with Exit Factor?
Well, two things. One is the process focuses on the items that are going to make the biggest difference, ultimately adding value to the business or giving you a better business the whole time. And then probably the big bonus is when it does come time to sell, and everything we're doing with that Exit Factor is with that end in mind. We're going to sell the business. That's something with Transworld we know quite a bit about.
That's very true. And I think one of the other things that we've talked about is that even if they don't want to sell, what are some of the key things that you think will have a business owner come to us and ask us to help them with? So is it their business isn't worth enough? Or what do you see when you speak to a business owner that really rings, okay, you need Exit Factor?
So there's usually a few key words. The first one is an owner says, I'm working way too hard. I'm not making enough money. I need to get my life back. That often works. Other comments are, I think my business is worth much more than somebody is willing to pay for it now. That often is a key buzzword when an owner says, I need to sell my business for this much. And as we do our initial evaluation, we say, well, your business isn't quite worth that today. Or let me rephrase that. People aren't willing to pay you that much today. The thing that I really like about the Exit Factor is the exit assessment, where we look at what the business is worth today, what people are willing to pay today, and what it potentially can be worth. And we work together with the business owner to develop that roadmap to actually hit those higher numbers. Those are kind of exciting things when we hear there is a gap between what they want, what the potential is out there, and where it is today.
So one other thing I want to talk about, as you know, we are celebrating 10 years of Transworld
Woo!
this month. Art went to training 10 years ago this week. And you and I had an opportunity to look through some of our data. And what were some of the things that stood out?
So this was actually a lot of fun as we look at data, and we do have a lot of years and a lot of data points. We did find of those businesses that tended to sell more quickly, typically under 6 months, they tended to sell for pretty close to the listing price because we listed the price fairly. For those business owners that felt they needed to list it at higher than what the business was worth, what we generally found is after about a year, we may have been able to sell it, and we tended to sell it for about 20% less than the asking price. In other words, for the same number we were telling them it probably was worth, but we wasted a year with a lot of people kicking tires and not buying. The irony with exit factor is we could have spent that year improving the business, getting not only the higher number, but possibly even a higher number than that, and then selling it quickly. So it kind of gets a little frustrating when you waste time and not really add value. Hence, let's do some exit factor and let's get the better number.
I think another thing that we found as we looked at the individual businesses is that a lot of the businesses that sold for less than their listing price, and we weren't able to see if there were intermediate changes, their books weren't as clean, they were more owner dependent, right? There were all these things that if they had worked with us, not only would they have gotten, like you said, their original list price, but they probably would have sold for more and quickly.
And we would have been a lot happier. Everyone would have won.
And I wrote an article on LinkedIn about this, and I will link it to this episode so that you can read the whole thing because I really dive into the details. But that's work that Art and I did together with literally dozens of sold deals that we've done in the past 10 years. So any final thoughts?
Let's have a conversation, whether it's an exit factor or a Transworld conversation, get some information, see some options, and let's make some deals happen. Good deals, good people.
And harvesting the value of your business. Before we go, how can people reach you?
Okay, I can be reached on my exit factor email, art.warsoff@exitfactor.com, or feel free to call me on my Transworld email, awarsoff@tworld.com. They both go to the same place.
And we'll put also your phone number in the notes. Thank you, everyone. And stay tuned next week when we'll have another guest speaking about digital assets. Thanks a lot.
Bye.